Hello, my friend. How are you doing? I hope you're having an outstanding day. It is Friday when we're doing this, which means that it is the Awesome Human Day. I'm having my celebrity chat favorite day of the week. And my awesome celebrity this week is Wesley Reece and success coach and healer. And I think it's so interesting what you do, but I don't want to tell people. I want to make a surprise. So, tell us how you got into this success coach, because the story is so interesting, into this success coach slash healer.
Yes, yes. Well, Heather, thanks for having me. It's great to have this chat today. Um, how I got into this, we all go through that evolution of our careers, professions, businesses, and I've been an entrepreneur since my mid to later 20s. So it's been a while. I won't tell
Right.
you how long. Um, through that journey, I've really gotten into I got into personal growth in my early 20s, and having your own business. I found that as you grow personally, your business is a reflection of that growth, and I really adopted that philosophy of, my business will only grow to the extent that I do. And through the years, I began to help lead women in their businesses, help them grow their businesses. And I just, as an extension of my previous business, began coaching women, midlife female entrepreneurs who are in that stage of life where they're either looking at their next chapter or they're looking to really further their impact that they know that they're meant to make. And with this evolution of my own, I found myself a few years into my coaching business, and I had hit a wall, more or less. And I was had a great strategy. I was doing the traditional mindset work, and I wasn't getting the results that I wanted.
Like
And
for your own business,
for my own business, and I was like,
right?
"What is going on here?" So it was like the harder that I worked, it was like nothing was really shifting, and it was just making me overworked and exhausted. Really, is what it was doing.
Right.
And so I wasn't showing up as how I needed to be able to serve um, in a great capacity. And so what happened was where the healing part came in is a fellow entrepreneur, now mentor, just pulled me aside and because I was in this group coaching program, and we would have our weekly meetings, and I was like, something's just not right. And I was like breaking down because I hit this wall and I was frustrated. And she was like, I think I may be able to help you. And so I decided to work with her, and she helped me through subconscious blocks that were really standing in my way as far as um, I had old money blocks that were repeating this old money story that was not serving me. Just as far as, I had plateaued in my revenue. And then also, I had huge visibility blocks. And so, working with her, I was able to detach the negative emotion from what I was going through so that I could see clearly what was really going on and be able to see more possibility and opportunity that was in front of me that I couldn't see before. And so that's what the healing work did. So we worked on my limiting beliefs, fears, doubts, all of that. And then she was like, I think you should try this, become certified so that you can help your clients in a greater way. And so I did, and I became an advanced certified theta healer. And the craziest thing was, as soon as I started using it on my existing clients, the traditional mindset work that we had been doing was taking a long time
Right?
for
Yeah.
the changes to actually, you know, to really see the effect of any kind of change, for it to be sustainable. And so I started doing healing work with my clients, and it was collapsing the time. Like we were seeing instant shifts so that, what would be like self sabotaging, procrastinating behavior was automatic clarity and take the next step. And it was just an amazing to see the instant transformation that it was providing. So I knew that I was onto something because I had been doing that traditional mindset work too. And this was the one thing that shifted everything for me.
And you were successful. You were just like, you knew that something was keeping you from pushing through to the where you were really meant to go, I guess. Sometimes I think you don't always have to push to a new level if that's not the level you're meant to. But if you feel like there's something else and you're banging up against it, it's like, and you do all the doings that they tell you to do when you take all the courses and they're still not working. I can see you going into those meetings. I'm losing my mind. Like, why isn't anything working?
Yeah. It's like that feeling of just that constant struggle. I'm like, why am I having to struggle harder than I should be?
And that also would feed into those beliefs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're struggling and you're struggling maybe because you're kind of blocking yourself, then it's hard because you're blocking yourself and then you just go, oh, look, it's not working. So then you just keep blocking yourself more. I can see that kind of spiral thing happening. Just
It,
make it worse and worse.
It is a spiral, a downward spiral. And, a lot of mainstream or a lot of the coaching industry will say, well, just change your mindset, just change your mindset. And then, but sometimes if that's not working, I think, I believe that just to get the word out that there are alternatives to traditional mindset work where you don't have to go through the long, arduous process of exploring your thoughts. It, Granted, it has its purpose and it has its place. However, if you're experiencing these blocks or what worked for you in your 20s and 30s, like I was a hard worker and I had the results to show for it and it was fantastic. And but you get to your 40s and you're like, okay, this isn't working the same.
And I don't want to work this much. Right.
No. And I was like, I really had to get to the heart of the matter, and that's what I like to call it, raising your heart set. It's
Okay.
because you've got your mindset work, which is important. You've got the skill set that you need in order to take the action, but what's missing? It's that emotional piece. It's the old stories that we all. And I'll tell this story real quick.
Hmm.
My daughter, a few weeks ago, we were getting ready to go to a football game, and we were sitting on the curb ready for the team to walk by, and there's floods of people everywhere. And my daughter, she's 15, and we were just sitting there, and she's looking around. She's like, "It's amazing to see how every person here sees the world differently." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, seriously? You're 15?"
I know, right? I never would have thought that at 15.
No, and it's true. Every person has their own lens which they filter the world. And we filter that through our experiences of the past. We filter it through the stories that we've told ourselves. We filter it through circumstances, all of these things. And it determines what we're able to see or what we cannot see. And I'll just put it this way. Um, you can have an opportunity in front of you, or somebody can tell you something 50 times, but that 51st time is the first time that you've actually heard it.
Right.
It's the filter. and to be able to feel and believe on a subconscious level that it's safe to be ourselves. It's safe to be seen in a world where we're naturally, subconsciously trying to protect ourselves. And that layer of protection is actually clouding the ability to be fully present.
Right.
And so being able to understand that we all along our, I believe business is a spiritual journey because if you want to know what you need to work on to start a business or get in a relationship, one of the two.
Yeah.
A mentor said that to me one time. I was like, oh, that's so true.
So true. All the stuff that you need to work on will trip you up in a relationship or in your business,
Yes,
right?
absolutely. And what I'm so passionate about helping women in midlife is because all of that stuff from our younger years is showing itself, and it's showing itself for a reason. It's showing it so that you can grow past it and move on and have greater impact and be able to do the things that that soul tap is telling you that you need to do.
Right. Yeah. And um, I was thinking about the so the biggest challenges that people face, they might think it's the getting more clients or but there's something deeper usually going on. And if you can help people, I mean, not everybody is obviously in a business. Some people are just getting in their own way, just in general in life. But um, having a realization. So I was thinking, they'll say, just change your mindset, just change your mindset. But that, if it's almost like people throw that around as like oh, just do this, but they, without a practical idea of, well, what does that mean? Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, just go change your mindset and everything will be great. And then the person sits there with, it's like telling someone who's never understood how to cook, oh, just go make Thanksgiving dinner. It's like, how do I do that?
Yes,
Right?
yes,
What does that mean? What do I do with this thing? I don't know how to cook. So, um, being able to practically help people through those steps to change. I mean, obviously, I mean, when you do the healing, their mindset must change, right? Just from a
absolutely. Because
subconscious level or
it is on a subconscious level. We hold 90% of our beliefs on the subconscious level. And so being able to change, when we hold our beliefs at a cellular level. And so the method that I use really comes from a spiritual and emotional approach because it's that piece that um, we can't see it, but we're spiritual beings having a human experience. There's a reason for that spiritual side of us, and I believe that that's what's missing. Um, when we
that
get
we're not connecting to that spiritual side
that
in
we're
our
not
business
in
or
our business or career, if someone um, you know has that route, it's really universal. And um and it's usually because of the stories of well, it's always been this way. I've always felt less than, or I've always felt broken, um, or who am I to help in that way, those things that we tell ourselves. And so being able to uncover at the belief level. So I like to call it, like, if you're looking at a Jenga tower and you know how you push the little blocks and some move without the tower falling, and then some move it and the whole tower will collapse.
Yeah.
What I do is I find the block that is holding the tower for all the beliefs that are attached to it. We go to the root beliefs so that it crumbles.
That's good. I like Jenga.
Yeah.
I like the visual that I'm getting. Totally unrelated. When I was in my 20s, I used to play a game called Drinking Jenga. So
Oh yeah. That's
I don't do that anymore. I probably killed too many brain cells. But it is, and I was thinking because I did a podcast episode a few weeks ago called Sticks and Stones, where I was trying to figure out, thinking out loud, where those stories come from. And I think like we install these stories that aren't even ours sometimes because of things that we heard or saw when we were younger or different points in our lives when we were maybe just had that like our record button was turned on and we heard somebody say something and that became a story that we thought was ours,
yeah.
which is not true because all the stories are made up. Right? And your daughter's saying that everybody has a different view of the world. Everybody's got a different recording playing in their head, right? So, how do you delete? It's like, how do we delete those recordings? Or, I mean, part of it is recognizing it, but, um, and I like the way you're saying, you just shortened that time span because take that awareness step first, being aware that you're telling yourself stories, recognizing their stories, questioning the stories, like they're all this is a time. So you're fast tracking that. Is it like hypnosis? I talked to a hypnotherapist a while ago too. She's like fast tracking people.
It's a similar form. It's prayer meditation. But the most significant part of it is helping identify what is the root. And then because we are all giving free will, you have the choice if you want to live with that belief or not. And when you willingly choose that you want better, then that is the pivotal moment when things begin to change. And, you have to believe in a higher power in order for the work to work. But when you make that conscious choice, that's when things begin to shift. And it's through prayer and meditation that it shifts the programming, that belief system that was being held. It shifts it in a way that's instant and it's permanent and it's painless.
Right.
And
And
so being
yeah,
able
go ahead.
being able to do that, it's a powerful transformation that can happen, that in an instant. And when that happens, like literally, I'll have clients that physiologically they'll feel like a weight has been taken off of them. Energetically, just feel like a weight has been taken off. It's because the work's being done at that spiritual level.
Right. And yeah, I know that hypnotherapy does not require belief in anything in particular, right? It just deals direct with the subconscious. And I guess a higher power doesn't have to have a definition of whatever denomination you choose. It's just something larger,
Yeah, it's not a religious thing. It is the higher being, higher power.
the energetic universe,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And I listened to a podcast where he says all the time, you uh you are always here. It's just you have different the way he kind of describes it is you are energies. So sometimes you're in this form and sometimes you're in a different form. Energy can't be destroyed, so it just changes.
Yep.
So that's like the translation of my energy right now is me sitting in this chair and hopefully down the road further down the road because I have things to do while I'm here. I will turn into some other energy, right?
Yeah, it's the evolution, and it's that being able to recognize that, we operate from our belief systems, and to know that your beliefs can change
Mm-hmm.
by choice. It's just being aware of what's going on in the process. And so, just because you say, uh, like in your younger years, I'll use myself as an example. It's like, you had to work really, really hard in order to make the income that you wanted to make. And I don't believe that anymore. I believe that if you add value to other people, that you will be compensated for that value in return. And it's more of a value exchange versus a physical labored effort, in order to have that, value exchange.
And I think that's a common one, right? I think that's really pervasive. And do you think, she works hard for her money? What was that song? I think it was like the 80s or something.
Yeah, anyone
And yeah,
works
you
hard
gotta,
for money.
yeah, it's like, you gotta work harder. But then if you look around, there's people working really, really hard and multiple jobs, and
Mhm.
they do not have the compensation for all that work they're doing. They're trading time for dollars, which is that equation that will never work out in your favor, right?
Yep.
And do you find that that's one of the common ones that people have, is just that I have to work harder and harder and harder?
Yeah, and they, believe that they have to exchange their time for money.
Right, instead of
And
value.
and you can always come up with ways to make more money, but you cannot do that with time. And
No.
it is the limited resource. And so the thing is that if you ask yourself, does everybody believe you have to exchange your time for money? No. Then that makes it a belief that, you know you can choose for it to be differently. And there's more to unravel with that I won't get into.
We could be here all day.
Yeah, we could literally be here all day. But what I find is that, women in midlife, it's those habits and patterns from our earlier years that are getting in the way, whether it is overworking and you don't have the energy that you had in your earlier years, and nor do you want to spend all your time in that way, because you start to have more of that, priority shift, value
Right.
shift. And so one of the things that I work with women on is their money box, because I find that in their businesses, that the money guilt and shame from past is showing up in their businesses, because, whether it is, they're over giving of their time, because they are just that nurturing type and want to give, 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 and then they have a problem receiving.
Mhm.
Which is one example. Another one is, undercharging for the value that they're giving. And, another one that, came up with a client recently is that on sales calls, she would have trouble stating her fees,
Really?
and it was blocking her, effectiveness on her sales calls, and she had even trouble from there being able to raise her fees, because she couldn't even share them in the first place, because she thought nobody would pay them, which got into, as we uncovered it, just got into more of, that how she saw value in herself and in what she offered. And so being able to heal those old stories and those limiting beliefs really helps to move forward in a more impactful way, and to incorporate the healing into that work is an immediate energetic shift. And you begin to say, well, yeah, that doesn't make sense for me anymore, and it's not going to be an issue.
Right.
And so you're able to just continue on.
Well, and something you were saying reminds, so it's like, it's almost like there's the layers that you've created that you have to kind of come out from under. And maybe that's why the idea of the Jenga tower is interesting, because I was thinking, we talked about trading your time for money instead of your value. But what if you don't value yourself, like your client who's like, oh, I can't charge this. I can't tell them what I'm charging. So then it's like, you don't have more time, but you don't value yourself. So like pulling yourself out from under all of that, um, it, without help, it takes a little bit of time, let me tell you.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Um, it's we're so close to the story, we can't see it most of the time.
You're too
Like
deep inside of
someone
it.
pointed out, yeah, because it's like we're one with our story, and it, it, you can't see because you're like inside the bottle, and so you can't read the label on the outside when you're inside the bottle. When you're inside the story, you can't read it because you're in it.
Yeah, I heard somebody else describe it that way. Like, I can't remember when I heard it. Maybe it was you, that you're inside your own jar with the instructions on the outside, and you're like, you can't read them. Maybe it was when I was talking to you. It's like, someone read me the instructions.
Yeah.
I,
And that, you know what? I just think that's why we need each other. We all have our own gifts and talents. And to hold those back out of fear is not serving in the way you were meant to serve. And nobody can do what you do. Nobody can do what you do. And we all serve in a unique way. And that's why we all need each other. I like to say we're all better together. When we're better together, we rise together.
right.
And that is my philosophy in how I approach everything, because I can't do what you do.
Right. And it's true. Like, everybody is different. I belong to a community of coaches, and we all coach, but I can't do what Shirley does. I can't do what Blake does. Like, we're all really different, and we all are there for a different purpose. And one of the coaches that I know, you just made me remember this. When you're hiding yourself, he's like, how dare you be so selfish as to not bring to the world what you put here to bring to the world. You're here for a reason, and you're here because the world needs something you got. So you not bringing it up and hiding because of whatever layers you've piled up on yourself. It's like, how dare you is his stance. It's like, okay, I'll stop being so selfish. I mean, it's not really being selfish. There's other stories that pile on top of that, but this is his way of giving you a kick in the pants.
Absolutely.
Right? Do you find that there's other commonalities that you see with the clients that you work with, or do you see similarities in people beyond the time for money and the value?
Actually, I would just say, let's call it dynamic.
That's a good word.
Let's call it dynamic. There are commonalities, but it's the nuances that really are the ones that holds so much weight in the stories. For example, I myself and a lot of the women I work with, everyone experiences trauma at some point in their life, whether it's the big T trauma or the little T trauma. And it
I call it the human
determines,
experience.
yeah, it is the human experience. It determines the lens that we see through. And I just want to, when I work with someone, it's very important that they feel safe, that they feel seen, heard, and understood, because otherwise they can't heal. And so, a lot of the commonalities that I do see would be conditioning from society,
Right.
and whether that be, as women, we feel like we have to carry the weight of the world.
Yeah.
And it
See that a lot.
literally, women feel like they're carrying the weight of the world.
Right.
And to liberate from that, there's so much freedom. And one of the things that I like to tell everyone and share this in this way, because I feel like it's often overlooked, is that through the years, we can maybe dismiss how a certain situation made us feel, or like for me, I was a stuffer. I would just stuff my emotions. I'll deal with that later, deal with that.
Right.
And in certain situations, I find that it's really easy for women to forgive others, but it's really hard for us to forgive or remember to even forgive ourselves. And there's so much power in that, um, energetically, specifically, so that that stuck emotion can actually leave and you can feel lighter. And because our bodies tell us a lot of information.
Oh, yeah.
And so being able to understand, oh my gosh, such and such happened when I was in high school, and yeah, I forgave the other person, but I never forgave myself for how I reacted in the situation. Just little things like that. And to know that the power of forgiving yourself can serve you so much. And it's not anything that you have to share with anyone else. You can do it just in a simple prayer, and intentional, meaningful prayer of really forgiving yourself for whatever that was that caused you to feel that certain negative emotion. And I just want to remind people that that's a powerful tool that we all have. And sometimes it's easy to give it to others, but sometimes it's the hardest to give it to ourselves.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because we are our own worst critics, and we have our internal standards, which are so beyond what we hold anybody else to for the most part, which is
Absolutely.
kind of crazy. And you made me think, I was wondering, so when you're working with people and you're trying to figure out their Jenga tower, do they have to know their story? Are there times when they don't know what their story is, but somehow you can still find your way down into it?
Yep. And whether they come to me knowing what's so weighty on them, or they come to me because they know something, they know that there's something holding them back. They just can't put their finger on it.
Right.
Um, we're able to uncover that in a gentle way. Um, the person just has to be willing and open so that the work can happen.
Right. And if they get to that point where they realize that they're stuck and they're looking for someone to help them, I would assume that they'd be ready to like, let's take care of this thing once and for all. But I know that sometimes, because I've had people come for, uh, uh, I'm a personal trainer sometimes, and I had one person come for one session, and then I didn't see her again for 6 years because she came, she thought she was ready, she wasn't ready.
Mm.
She came, but she did come back like 6 years later. I was like, I think of you all the time. Where have you been? But she just said I wasn't ready. I'm like, okay, okay. You take your time, right? You know when you're ready, and you take those steps towards what and what it is that's going to help you move yourself forward,
Absolutely. And
right?
it's like, what is the indication to make you curious? And it is, you could be secretly stuck, and that does mean that just means that, things are okay, but they could be better.
Right.
Um, an indication is, you're taking the actions, but you're not getting the results that you should be getting.
And I sometimes I think about the yeah, you look super happy and successful and everything's perfect surface, but you just look behind the social media pictures and you're like, underneath, deep inside you, do you feel the joy that you're trying to show people you have? Right? If you're not actually really feeling it, then there's something blocking you. There's something in the way of that joy, right? I was talking to somebody earlier. She talks about gut health, but she said everybody needs vitamin J, vitamin joy.
Absolutely.
Right? We all need a vitamin J in our life.
We all do. I think one of the big ones that I see that, um, even if uh, somebody just has one healing session, one of the immediate results that they all say is they feel lighter after the session, but here's the key: they feel more at peace within themselves. And I think that's huge, especially in this busy world where we have a ton of distractions. There's lots of things going on outside of us. And a lot of the times our internal world can be, um, just in that reactive surviving mode to
Hmm.
what's going on outside of you. And I believe it's really important for people to know that their internal world is a reflection of what's going on outside of them. So to be able to know that that internal peace is possible, and to have that so that nobody can poke holes in it. I like to say
Right.
nobody can poke holes in your inner peace, um, because it's coming from that space within you that nobody can touch, and only you have the power to be able to want that for yourself.
Right. It's interesting that you're bringing that up because lately I've been doing some inner work on myself, and my mantra right now is choose peace. So whenever
Mhm.
I feel the the things that are holding me and sticking me and disrupting me, I just bring my choose peace mantra in, and whew, and I just exhale the rest of it. But it's true. I mean, if you can find that place where you're okay on the inside, like your outside, so your inside can reflect what's going on outside, but if your inside is stable without any holes poked in it, then that will reflect outwards as well, right?
Absolutely.
And that will change your outer world. So awesome. That's so cool. And my friends, so um, I know you're going to want to talk to Wesley because who wouldn't? and and we have connections. So I always mention to make sure that people know that it's in the show notes. somewhere because it depends on what platform, above, below, and all around is the way to get in touch with you. And I think that you have a quiz on there.
I do. I have a link where you can download a self assessment and you can find out your unique sacred money archetype, because we all have our unique archetypes that really help understand why we do what we do. And I, I always say, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So, how you do money is a great tangible indicator as to how you do everything. And to be able to work on and heal your money story and work from that place of um, empowered and expansiveness, it starts with understanding why you do what you do.
Yeah,
And
I've
so,
taken that quiz in the past, and so it's when you realize, oh, I do that, then you can catch yourself doing it,
yes.
so you have a chance. And I say that as a maverick, so if you're
Oh, yes. I'm very familiar with the Maverick.
right,
Um,
yes,
we like to take risks, but for a good purpose. Um,
yes, all for the higher good.
yes, all for the higher good. So yeah, I have the self-assessment for the money archetype, and then also a link to schedule a conversation with myself to see, how I could support you in your journey with your business, and how I can help you get to um, that next level and get you past that thing that may be holding you back. So that's
Amazing.
chatwithwes.com.
Yeah, awesome. And I always give my awesome humans a final word. Do you have a final word of wisdom for
Final word
people?
of wisdom.
Or multiple words? It can be multiple words.
Um, what's coming to me is I just want everyone to really know and believe that better is possible, and you have that choice every day.
That's awesome. Those are awesome words. Thank you so much for taking some time to share with me and to share with everybody, and just really great information, and so helpful for people, I think, if they can knock down their Jenga tower of stories. I'm going to keep that visual now when I'm meditating. That's so good.
Yeah. Well,
Thank
I really appreciate this time with you, Heather. I just so enjoyed talking with you, and um, yeah, thank you for having me.
thank you. Okay, my friend, that's us. Have an amazing weekend if it's the weekend for you. And don't forget to share, like, and subscribe, friends. You know the rules. Have a great weekend. Take care. We'll see you soon.